Hiding behind your walls is this incredibly complex network that literally powers your entire life. And most of us, we never even think about it. Well, until something goes wrong, right? So today, we're going to decode your home's electrical system. We'll translate all those strange signals and uncover what you really need to know to keep your home safe and ready for whatever's next. All right, let's get into it.
So let me start with a question. I bet this has happened to you. You're just sitting there, maybe watching TV, and all of a sudden the lights flicker. Just for a second. It's super common, right? But what you might not realize is that it's actually your house trying to tell you something really important about its electrical health.
And hey, that little flicker, that's just one of many signals. What about a circuit breaker that trips every single time you try to use the microwave? Or maybe you've heard a faint buzzing sound coming from an outlet. Or you've noticed a switch that feels kind of warm when you touch it. And then there are the smells. A burning smell is bad, for sure. But that really weird, distinct, fishy smell? Yeah, that can mean plastic components are seriously overheating. These aren't just little household quirks, folks. They're symptoms. Yeah, think of these symptoms as your home's warning system. It's sending out an SOS. So, in our first section here, we're going to play translator. We'll figure out what all those strange sounds and signals from inside your walls are actually trying to say. And when you break it down, it's actually pretty simple. Those breakers that keep tripping, that's not random. It's a huge sign that your circuits are just overloaded. You've got too much stuff plugged in. Or it could mean the breaker itself is just old and worn out. And the flickering lights? Well, that could be something simple, like a loose wire somewhere. Or it could be something much more serious, like the wiring is undersized for the amount of power going through it. And that's a major risk for overheating.
Okay, but the biggest dangers aren't always the ones that are obvious, the ones you can see or hear. So for this next section, we're going to go deeper and uncover some of those hidden electrical dangers. Because trust me, what you can't see, that can often be the biggest risk of all.
So if your home was built anytime between the 1950s and the 1980s, listen up. There could be a pretty notorious fire hazard hiding in plain sight, probably down in your basement or tucked away in a utility closet. And what is it? It's these things, Federal Pacific panels. Now, here's the bottom line. The breakers in these panels have one job to do: trip and shut off the power when there's an overload. And the problem is, they're famous for not doing that job. So when they fail to trip, the circuit just keeps getting hotter and hotter and hotter, kind of like a toaster element glowing red hot inside your walls. It is a massive fire hazard. And that's exactly why any electrician or home inspector will tell you to replace it immediately if you have one.
But hey, those Federal Pacific panels, they're not the only ghost floating around in older homes. There's also aluminum wiring, which was used a ton in the 60s and 70s. The issue is, it expands and contracts way more than copper, which means connections can get loose over time and, you guessed it, that's a fire risk. Go back even further and you might find knob and tube wiring. The big problem there? It doesn't have a modern safety ground wire, which is what protects you from getting a nasty shock. And one of the most common issues we see is just a lack of GFCI protection near water. And that is a huge safety feature we're going to talk more about in just a minute.
Okay, enough with the scary stuff. Let's talk solutions. For Section 3, we're going to shift gears and look at how you can modernize your home's power system. We're talking about the upgrades that don't just make your home safer, but also make it way more capable of handling, everything we throw at it in our modern lives.
I mean, just look at this difference. It's kind of wild. A typical home in the 1950s, it probably had a 60-amp panel, and that was fine for like a fridge and a few lights. Fast forward to the 80s, and it jumps up to 100 amps. But today, the modern standard is 200 amps. So why the giant leap? Well, just think about your own house. You've probably got a home office, a couple of big screen TVs, all kinds of kitchen gadgets. Maybe you're even thinking about an EV charger. Our need for electricity it's absolutely skyrocketed.
So we mentioned GFCIs a minute ago, and this is why they are so important. A ground fault circuit interrupter, it is literally a lifesaver. Think of it like a super sensitive, super fast bodyguard for your outlets. It's constantly monitoring the electrical current. The second it detects even the tiniest imbalance, like maybe that current is going through you instead of the cord, bam, it cuts the power in milliseconds. That incredible speed is what prevents a serious or even fatal electric shock. And that's why the code now says you gotta have them anywhere near water. And the upgrades don't even stop there. Once you have that 200 amp panel, you can do things like add whole house surge protection, which is awesome for protecting all your expensive electronics. You can get dedicated circuits for that power-hungry stuff in your home office or your garage workshop. Oh, and then there are arc fault circuit interrupters, or AFCIs. Now, imagine a tiny little spark of lightning jumping between two damaged wires inside your wall. That's an arc, and it's a huge cause of electrical fires. Well, AFCIs are designed to detect that specific kind of spark and shut everything down before a fire can even think about starting.
All right, so let's say you've identified a problem, or you're just ready for an upgrade. What actually happens next? In our final section, we're going to pull back the curtain on the whole professional service process, just to demystify it so you know exactly what to expect when you pick up the phone and call an expert.
Any good, reputable company is going to follow a really clear 3-step process. First up is assessment and approval. A licensed electrician comes out, figures out what's going on, and gives you a detailed price right up front. And nothing should start until you say yes. Step 2 is the actual installation, where they do the work, using the right materials and following all the safety codes. And finally, step 3 is testing and paperwork. They test everything to make sure it works perfectly, they deal with any inspections, and they give you all the documentation. The whole thing is designed to be totally transparent, no surprises.
Okay, here's a quick but really important distinction for you to know. What's the difference between an electrician and an electrical contractor? Well, the electrician is the actual person, the licensed pro who does the hands-on work. The electrical contractor is the business that hires that electrician. The contractor is the one with the insurance, the one who pulls the permits, and the one who's legally on the hook for the entire project. So you're actually hiring the contractor, and they send their expert electrician to do the job.
And this right here is the gold standard you should always expect. A pro gives you a price for the entire job, and that price is the price. It shouldn't change, even if the work takes them a little longer than they expected. This is so key because it gets rid of all that stress and anxiety about getting a surprise bill at the end.
So we've looked at the warning signs, we've uncovered some hidden dangers, and we've talked about all the modern solutions out there. It really all boils down to one final question you should ask yourself. Is your home's electrical system just kind of limping along on yesterday's standards? Or is it genuinely safe, totally reliable, and actually ready for the future?